Welcome back to another draw with me. Today we are doing Darren Raven, aka the Necromancer from my story. Unfortunately, with this recording, I forgot to take off the reference image, so you're just going to see that right now. But, of course, as always, we're going to start with a circle. Then we're going to do that symmetry line in the middle of the circle, like usual. And then we're going to do the little lines on the side, again, like how we usually do. Darren Raven actually has a shorter face than a lot of the characters I do draw, so you're actually going to make those kind of rounder edges and put them at a point. I'm also doing the eye lines as I usually do. Again, these are not a required step, but they do help me with placing the eyes in the correct positions and placing the ears in the correct positions. Zooming into the reference image, I am looking at Darren Raven's eye shape. He has a unique eye shape where it is kind of a flat semicircle and then a check mark at the bottom. And then his other eye, because he has four eyes, is more like a check mark, or if you watch JJK, it's kind of like Sukuna's eye when Yuji is in control. Since what I drew over by the reference image was a practice and me just getting used to the eyes again, we're going to go back over to the face that we drew and try to draw both of those eyes in that eye line space. It is okay if the secondary eye, which is the other checkmark eye, or the Sukuna eye, goes below the eye lines if you did create eye lines. Darren Raven has a pretty easy nose here. You're just going to do that middle line if you don't already have that intersecting line, and then two little dots on both sides, like I did here. Unfortunately, I didn't want to make the boy smile for this one, so he's just going to be straight-faced. I am also kind of changing up the eye shape just a little bit. I'm giving him more tired eyes, because otherwise he looks like he's staring right at you in a crazy style, and that is not the mood I'm going for with this drawing of Darren Raven. So what you're going to see here is I'm drawing ears. Ears are actually a pretty recent development from me. So the reference image, if you look back at that at some point, that drawing of Darren Raven does not have ears. And thus, that's kind of why I am struggling here. Mr. Raven also has eyebrows, and he has some pretty thick eyebrows. Not terribly thick, though. And they are smooth eyebrows, so no need to give him those really pointy eyebrows like how Toxic Lemonade had. Then I'm just going in and erasing those initial lines that I did for the eye shape, giving him a little bit of an eyelid there. Now we are finally moving on to the hair, and the hair's a little weird. So he's just got this one bang type that is almost like an upside down candy cane. That's how I usually start. And then I do a little half circle going off of it towards the right hand side of his head. And some spike, or another spike, I suppose, going towards the left hand side of his head. The top of his hair is basically these two big wave shapes, one small right at the top, and one really big towards the left hand side. And it kind of just goes like that. Then you do the little hair part there, make that go down, and you give him his little cowlick right where the hair parts, which is almost kind of like a leaf sprout if you look at it in a really weird way. In order to do the rest of his hair correctly, I needed to start giving him a neck, that's why I'm doing that now. I'm also giving him his shoulders. He has pretty broad shoulders as a character, and he's one of the very few buff characters I have. You can see I did another wave near the left, and I'm going to do about the exact same thing on the right. Realized I made that first wave that I created on the left hand side just a bit too big, so I'm going in and fixing that. Then I'm going in and giving him his sideburns. They're basically the same shape as that first bang that he had, which is that upside down candy cane shape. Of course, you want to erase the lines that are no longer visible, which is most of the lines in the hair, which is what I'm doing here. Again, remember always to do this first part, especially if you're not in digital, very lightly. Also figured out I forgot to give his second pair of eyes pupils. They do have pupils, so there they go. Now he really looking at you. Finally, we're going on to the clothes, which he has this kind of half cloak thingy, or it's almost like a hoodie. So it's off center, thus why that one is not going towards the center. And it's basically just these big poofy collar. And it goes off center towards the right hand side of him. And there is going to be a little skull pendant. Oh, there it is. Skull pendant that ties that together, like so. Then right by that skull pendant, that's where this little cloak is going to split, so we put this little split there. And then putting where his shoulders are going to be. He also has kind of like this bodysuit thing going on, so we put a little bit of that bodysuit that goes on his neck right there. I also forgot to give him pupils, so gotta give him pupils. Now he really be looking at you. Now that we're done with the sketch, we gotta go on to the line art. So remember, if your sketch is not the greatest, or is just something that you didn't like, you don't have to follow your sketch. You can go off model just a little bit. As you can see, I'm not following all my lines. In fact, I'm making most of the hair parts bigger. Also, remember, even though we didn't really do it during the sketch layer, that middle part of the nose is still going to be there. The rest of that middle line, though, you probably won't need. Decided when I was doing this eye that I wanted to give him just a little sparkle, because while he is a necromancer, he still likes life. Just a reminder that his chin is rounded. It's not as sharp as a lot of the other characters. So, while it is still sharp, it is not as sharp as, let's say, uh, Pride or Toxic Lemonade or any of those. He's kind of a poofy character, more fluffy, more approachable, even though he is a necromancer. Kind of weird. Didn't give a lot of detail to the skull pendant before, so now I'm actually putting in the teeth marks there. Right by the pendant, there's also going to be this little design that goes on his half cloak. And it has these two little points that go out. Then the white line goes towards the top and goes into the inside of the cloak. So the inside of the cloak is technically white. Then again, we're doing that other point. That other point kind of goes on to the other side of the cloak instead of going on to the hoodie part of it. Thus why I kind of did a little indent thing because it goes onto the cloak and it shows that this cloak has wrinkles and depth. I made him more frowny. I don't know why I made him more frowny. I guess that's just how I was feeling that day. I also gave the pendant angry eyes because it for some reason always has angry eyes. You're gonna see in a bit here that I almost forgot to give this man some eyebrows, so let's get him some eyebrows. He didn't burn them off or shave them off, I promise. He has eyebrows, guys. He's not bald. I don't think I did this in the sketch layer, so I kind of put this here. But since that hoodie slash half cloak is not on him straight, a little bit of his left shoulder is going to be visible. Or I guess that's the right shoulder for us. Finally doing colors. Obviously, I can color pick off of my reference. You guys can't. So his hair is going to be black. If you don't want it to just be straight black, use a gray or a very dark blue. His bodysuit underneath the cloak is also about the same color as his hair, so make that the same color. Mr. Raven's cloak is red and white, so you want to make the outside, the non-lines, red, while everything else is going to be white, obviously. You're going to see in this recording that I used an off-white or a cream Traditional users, you do not have to do this. You can probably just leave your paper white in that area. Realize it got a little dark here because I'm trying to get colors to be correct, especially in that white area. But we're going to go into the eyes. And Darren Raven is one of the very few characters, well, not very few, but few of them, that have dark scleras, which is usually the white part of the eye. He has black ones, because cool factor, I guess. Also, laugh all you want about me forgetting a key part of this character that makes him distinct. He does have a little bit of stubble, because, yes, yes. Now, Darren Raven, he is white, so he's kind of pale, but he's not super pale. He's kind of like this peachy, almost red tone. I changed it a little bit more orange because I have been better about skin tones lately. So, just changing it up a little. Traditional users, you can probably just use a regular peach tone. Darren Raven has very, very bright red eyes. So, the type of red you might want to use for this is either if you have like a neon red that will work for his eyes, or even an orange red will work for his eyes if you're a traditional user. Also, the little shinies, since they got kind of covered up by my paint bucket tool, I am putting that back in, and I actually decided to make them pink because I thought that made more sense because the light is reflecting off of his red eyes. Thus, pink instead of white. I also lowered the opacity on that layer. Traditional art medium users, you can't do this. So I guess if you get to this part in the video, just draw these very lightly or leave them white. Going to be going back to the usual white background in just a bit here. And that's to help me clean up any areas that I missed during my first go around coloring this man. And now I am doing his name. Again, his name is Darren Raven, or you could call him Mr. Raven, or you can call him the Necromancer. Behold Darren Raven in all his beauty. He's basically the only human character that I have made or created to be very beneficial to the story. And yes, he is human. He is just very corrupted by chaos magic. Hence why he has the different eyes and the claws and the black scleras. As always, thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you want to see more of these videos.